Well, hello. Today we are doing something kind of weird. We're doing two very exciting things: a boyfriend reveal, and also something that I've wanted to do ever since we finished the RTD era of Doctor Who is a review of that era. As somebody who has seen this show 5 times, I think my fifth time was watching it with Ferret here. This was his first time, so that's why I
Yeah,
kind of
bringing the
wanted.
perspective of someone who has watched it exactly once, is a new fan after 20 years have already gone by, and only partially remembers parts of it.
Yes. Also, the perspective of somebody who interrupts me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't hold your space as sacred whatsoever.
No, I can't believe you hate me this much.
I know I don't support you.
So, as a first viewer, you were introduced to Rose in the episode Rose. Picture this: interior shot, morning. A young ingenue wakes up to her alarm and rushes out to go to work.
But this is the one where they fight plastic mannequin people, and the doctor is very much a manic pixie dream boy who is very kooky and a very exciting addition to her life. And that's kind of like what's established here.
Basically, yeah, I do like the fact that it focuses on the companion side of things. I think some of the best opening episodes should just focus on companions, because the audience already kind of knows the Doctor. I mean, obviously, with this episode, no, but, going forward, I think it's a good way to get us into the mood by having us follow a day in the life of Rose Tyler and sort of give us some insights into what she's like just on her own.
My emotions are putting it between B and C.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like it's a utilitarian episode, honestly. Like the Autons are not the most interesting threat because they don't really need to be. We're focusing on Rose and the Doctor's characters.
I think B tier and above, I should hold the episode in some fond regard.
Right.
And C tier for me is like bog standard, met expectations.
Yes. I think you're right. I think Rose meets expectations and is a good intro to the show, but nowhere near as good as what's going to come after it.
Yeah. And speaking of, what is the second episode?
At the end of the world. So this is where the Doctor takes Rose 5 billion years into the future to a space to a space station to watch the sun swallow the Earth inevitably.
This is instantly like one of my favorite episodes in the RTD run. I put this privately in our history. We've gone over like standout episodes from the series, and this was one of mine, right?
I think it was, and you know what? It's so funny because this is an episode that a lot of people see as like a problem episode of the season.
Why?
Which
Because a brave tree woman burns to death?
Yes, that's exactly it. That's the only reason. Like there are
I mean, that
little
was sad.
yes, and there are little things here and there that I could point to and be like, meh, 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 I didn't like that. Like, one really dumb thing was the idea, the host, he dies because there's a button in his office that kills him. Like, so like, or like the emergency shutdown or whatever is on the other side of a bunch of propellers. Why would you design it this way? Like, there are silly, stupid things in there, but at the same time, I kind of have to again ignore all that a little bit.
Because they play Britney Spears toxic while the Earth is destroyed by the expanding sun.
And isn't that the only reason? I mean,
It's also
well,
where we get the beginning of our trope of every episode Rose has to connect with a blue collar alien.
which, and I was gonna say, I think the character work in this episode way surpasses the previous one. I think Rose and the Doctor both get really, really good character moments. So, Rose, yes, the beginning of her trend of connecting with blue collar aliens. And the Doctor's sort of Well, I mean, the whole thing is that he was like showing off to Rose, being like, "I'm gonna take you to the year 5 billion." It's like he didn't need to take her to see the death of the Earth. You know what I mean? But he did
Oh yeah.
because he's kind of showing off because he hasn't traveled with anybody in a long time, and oh, and they have that amazing like almost shouting match where they're like fighting in that one room because she finds out that the TARDIS is translating without her consent and she's freaked out by it. Like obviously she's freaked out. There are so many aliens. Everything's like she's so overwhelmed in this episode and you see it all come through. I'm not feeling goated with the sauce because I do think there are a couple things that hold the episode back. Also Cassandra, a tier villain. I love her. I do think that there are a couple.
Oh, how can we not say goated with the sauce on the episode that has moisturized me?
I don't think the end of the world's goated with the sauce, but I would put it in either high or low A or high B.
I would say, I mean, my compromise is A.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I think a lot of people see it as a problem episode because of those couple things that I mentioned, and also the fact that it's like really campy and silly. But I think anybody who complains about Doctor Who being campy is like not a real fan, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, what are you here for if the camp bothers you? How have
Mhm.
you survived the last 35 years? Is this the Slovene two-parter now?
No, next we have the Unquiet Dead, the past episode, when they go to see Charles
Oh,
Dickens.
so my basic summary of this one is that people in the 1800s are being possessed by gas aliens and
The
snapping each other's necks.
dead bodies are being possessed, and there's this whole sort of moral dilemma, which I wish wasn't undercut by the Gelth just being evil. The thing is, there's this really good moral argument between the Doctor and Rose, where she's like, "We can't just let them possess dead bodies. That's like perverse. We can't just let them do that." And the Doctor's like, "You're not using them anyway. There's like a different morality that I have to work with that you don't."
Okay, but it's all like you're going to hear me complain this about Doctor Who a lot, but like that argument falls flat in the face of the fact that the dead bodies are zombies that just kill everyone they touch.
And
So
that for
like,
me, and I mean that for me is why the argument, like, I really like that aspect of the episode. But again, you're right, it falls flat because it turns out that the Gelth are just kind of evil and want to take over the world, and it's not like I don't know. It kind of undercuts the moral weight of the decision they have to make. Like if it truly was like a moral thing where the Gelth were fine, they just wanted to take the bodies and go. That's something you could work with, but I think just like making them evil in the end was like kind of it does ruin it for me a little
they
bit.
didn't make them evil at the end. They were evil in the cold open. They
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
dead bodies just started sitting up and snapping people's spinal cords, and it was like, all right, we're
yeah.
here for the.
So this
I think for me,
episode,
this is back to C.
I think would be a C episode too. Yeah, we're gonna put it at C tier. We're gonna put it
Yeah,
under Rose. I think actually no. I
yeah.
think should I put it above Rose or under Rose?
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I like the plastic mannequin people better than I like the gas lamp aliens.
I just I love gaseous aliens, and I'm just sad that they were evil.
I refuse to reward a high concept done only okay.
Okay, so we have to decide now because we have the Slithian two-parter. We have to decide: are we going to judge them as stories or as individual episodes?
For the sake of my memory and convenience, I think two-parters should be grouped. I remember them as a single unit, so we should chunk them together.
Okay, good enough. Easy as.
Easy as. And I think Slovene is kind of a bad two-parter.
Really?
Well, maybe all I'm remembering is how many farts and like jokes at the expense of fat people there were. And
Yes.
that kind of like dominates the entire plot for me. Is like it was just fat British politicians devouring people.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend that. I will defend, I think there were some really good. I don't know. I like the story. I like politics of the episode. And I think they're handled well.
This is our first episode where a well-meaning journalistic busybody is killed in the cold open.
Is she killed?
Is she not?
Which busybody is killed?
Someone in the first episode is like, "Oh, I've been following this paper trail, and like no one in this government is qualified, and they all appeared like not long ago." And then they're like, "Interesting. Step into my office so I can eat you."
Maybe you're thinking about the season 3 finale?
Maybe. Yeah, this Levine happened so many times, and it's always the same.
No, they
UK
only happened.
politics commentary.
Well, the slitheen only happened twice, and in the first season.
Oh, okay.
But the busybody, you're thinking of Penelope Wilton, cousin Isabel for Downton fans.
Oh my God, you remember the names like someone who's seen it 5 times.
Well, the actor's name is Penelope Wilton. The character is Harriet Jones, MP for Flydell North.
Right. Okay, so that was not this. I do remember them being trapped in the house with like a Slovene chasing them, and that was a good climax.
In the house, they're at 10 Downing Street.
In the house, you know.
Yeah.
In the Rose house, Casa
You're right.
Rose.
Okay.
10 Downing Street, laughing at me because I don't remember the address of the main character. I can't believe you don't even know her postal code.
Well, it's like
How would you send her post?
Isn't 10 Downing Street like the White House for British people?
No, I'm sorry. Isn't there? Oh God, am I mixing up the other Slovene episode where like Rose's mom and Mickey get trapped inside their home, fighting one?
Yeah, you're right. That does happen in this episode. You're right.
So I would say a good climax bumps it up to like C tier.
I wouldn't put this in C tier though. Like the farting aliens and the jokes at fat people, I will not defend, but I do think as a story and as a plot and a writing wise, I do think it is quite strong. Like I don't think that I could put it below Rose or the Unquiet Dead in my opinion.
You know, you're right. It's actually more entertaining than the Unquiet Dead.
Like, I find the Slovene to be a really cool villain. I like the fact that they're not a species. I like that they're a family, so you don't get this, like, weird Planet of the Hats, everyone's evil in my planet kind of thing.
Sure. Okay. You know what? We're going to put it in B tier, but catch me putting everything else in B tier ahead of it.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll see about that. Next, we have the episode Dalek. I'm gonna expose my bias. I want to put this in A or low goated with the sauce.
Ooh. I will not goat this episode. However, it is good.
I think that it sets up the finale really well by showing us how dangerous a single Dalek could be. So that at the end, when they all come, it's a very, like, intense moment. Because you're like, oh, one of these things took out every, what's it called?
I don't know, just a whole bunch of...
Soldier. I forgot the word for soldier.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I don't support the military-industrial complex.
Oh my god.
And also, I just think the writing is really good. I think it does a good job focusing on a single Dalek as well, because you actually get to have a Dalek with a personality. Whereas a lot of subsequent Dalek stories, not necessarily in this era of the show, but later on, they just become shouty fascist Nazi men robots. So it was nice to see a Dalek with a personality, and to sort of have the Doctor wrestle with that, and sort of have to be like, I don't know. I liked seeing the Doctor also grapple with sort of that dark side of himself, which we didn't see up until now very often.
So this episode,
yes,
can we put it?
I recognize that I will have to compromise sometimes. I think it's kind of a flawless episode, but we can put it in high A tier.
Yeah, I think I think that is the compromise here. What is the other episode in A tier? I already forget because it's the two of them standing next to each other.
The end of the world.
Oh, I like the end of the world better than this, but this is our tier list, so
You
we can
like
put
the
it
end of
ahead
the world? Okay, I like the
a
end of the
lot.
world as I like the end of the world a lot, but I do not like it more than I like Dalek.
I just love a tree woman.
Well, you can't base. Oh, actually, I guess you can.
We can and we will. Now, what's the next episode here?
So the next episode is the long game. So this is where this is.
What is it about?
Why are you laughing like that?
Because I don't remember anything about this yet.
Oh my god. So after the events of Dalek, the Doctor and Rose take Adam with them into the future, Space Station
Yeah.
5. And they land on the space station. The Doctor is very confused because it seems like humanity's progress has been stunted, and not in the good draggy kind of way. It like their progress is not stunting; it's stunted.
This is the one.
So this is the one where it's about sort of news, like fake. It's about fake news, basically. It's where their heads open up and the lasers go in, and they like.
Yeah, but there's like an evil TV station, right?
So this set and this location shows up in the finale. They come back here later.
You know, television should never do anything twice, so that when we make tier lists, I don't have this phenomenon. But I remember enjoying this episode, and I feel like emotionally it's B tier.
You know what? A season of television should never have an overarching plot. It should never return to any locations for follow-ups.
And there shouldn't be conflict.
No, absolutely not. So I would put this episode in. It's difficult because this episode mainly is for setup rather than being an episode in and of itself.
Right.
I would put it maybe low B tier. Actually, no, I think I would have to put it in C for me.
Okay, I'm comfortable with C because I don't remember a lot about it, so maybe it wasn't that great.
It's not a bad episode. I don't think there's a single bad episode in season 1. So I'm gonna put it in maybe mid C, below Rose but above the Unquiet Dead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's acceptable.
Father's Day.
Father's. What was this episode about?
This was the one where Rose goes back in time to save her father's life.
Oh, this episode kind of rules, and I want to. Okay, my recollection of this episode is as follows: she goes back in time. It's a really emotional episode. She tries to save her father and then just succeeds, and then it summons one of the stupidest unrevisited concepts in the show's canon, which is that if you change the past, which the Doctor does all the time, but you're not supposed to, then the time dragons come and just start deleting reality in a systematic way by killing people in the street.
It's rough. Yeah, I will say the Reapers are the only thing that hold this episode back.
I don't want you to hold space for them by calling them by their actual name. They are little time dragons.
The Time Dragons, yes.
The time dragons come and they go, and they start deleting people.
Yeah.
And those people, presumably, in being deleted, up the timeline even more. So it's all out of control.
Well, okay.
I guess all the bystanders who died are like unkilled when they fix everything.
Yeah, just this once Rose, everybody lives.
Right.
No, okay, so here's the thing. I want to talk about the good parts about Father's Day because the episode is such a good example of a problem that I have with Doctor Who Modern in general, and it's that every single episode needs to have a monster or an alien, when I just don't think that's the case.
Right.
I think Father's Day could have been I think it could have been like a perfect, flawless episode had they just had like the imagery of the car circling out of time. And just have that be sort of the catalyst rather than the monsters. We don't need a monster.
Yeah, that was cool. Was this a Moffat episode?
No.
because the circling car is very much a Moffat vibe of like, what a creepy thing to happen. What's causing that?
Yeah. So like that, if they had just had, because this episode does have really good like evocative imagery, and I feel like the car circling is all you really need. The time dragons are the really big issue, but again, I want to say I think the character work is amazing. I think that Rose finally kind of getting the hang of how time travel works and sort of seeing the consequences of her actions is really, really well done. I will say I think the Doctor comes off a little bit paternalistic towards her in a way that I don't love, but I don't think it ruins the episode for me. We'd love to see a character go back in time to see what a great person their parent was, and then see that he's actually just kind of this schlubby, kind of loser guy.
Yeah.
And his relationship with her mom is like not very good. I don't know. It's really good. It's just, it's so unsanitized.
But yeah, like there's kind of this raw thing of like, nah, he was just a guy who like gambled their savings away and had a bunch of stupid get rich quick schemes and like, but just like her mom, she falls for that smile and is like, that's my dad. I'm gonna summon time dragons.
It's very RTD to never give the characters what they want. And I think this episode really exemplifies it. I'm gonna put it in honestly A tier as well. Like other than the time dragons, which is the single complaint I have about it, I do think it is kind of a flawless episode.
You're right. In spite of it all, this is better than Slitheen.
Yeah, are you kidding?
We put Slitheen in B tier, and now B tier is like so much shittier in my estimation.
Oh my god.
It's okay, we soldier on because we have to talk about the empty child.
Yes, which is going to be controversial, I think.
Well, only because I'm not going to goat it.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks this two-parter is like the greatest thing that, again, Moffat?
Yeah, this is the first Moffat penned episode.
Is like, I'm gonna suck Moffat's toes later in this tier list, but not this episode. I think it's just good.
Why his toes?
Well, because anything else I'd say could get your account suspended.
I'd rather be suspended than have to entertain the concept of a foot fetish. Yeah, so The Empty Child, I will say, I don't think that it's the best Moffat penned episode. I think there are other ones that obviously supersede it. But I don't think it's like a bad episode. I think it's got the tone really, really down. Again, evocative imagery. The horror really horrors at the right time. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Sorry, the alien concept is really good and is done well.
Yes. And that's the thing. I like that there's no monster this episode. It's more just like a freak accident of technology.
This is my recollection. The alien is basically like a very advanced crashed medical nanoparticle.
Yes.
And it basically tries to help the first species it finds, but it crashes in Battle of Britain, like 1944 London, and finds a child with a gas mask on, which is like made partially of leather. So it reads that organism and is just like, this is like the organism on this planet, a small thing with a gas mask that is permanently stricken in fear. And it just goes around turning people into that.
To heal them.
Yeah, it's like healing them by growing gas masks on their faces and making them permanently cry out for their mothers. And it's like bizarre and scary. And that's like a good explanation for why that's happening.
And the imagery of that guy at the end of part one, who you the imagery of the guy who you see turn into one of the gas mask men is just one of the scariest things you can put on children's television.
Maybe we can goat this, but I would personally A tier it. But if you would goat it, I'll go with it.
I wouldn't goat it. I would put it in A tier. I would put it low A tier. Or mid A tier.
High A tier. I think it's better than the Dalek.
Interesting. I do not. I have to mention, I like Nancy. I like the secondary character this episode. I think she could have been a companion in her own right, but I'm glad that she was a one-off strong character.
And she's a blue collar Londoner that Rose connects with.
Yeah, exactly. Also, introduction of Captain Jack.
Yep. Which
Okay,
is, we'll get to it.
I am gonna put it in. I'm gonna put it A tier. I'm not gonna like try and order them. I'm just gonna kind of put them where my
Yeah,
heart
vibes
feels
only.
they should go. Yeah. Oh, the next episode is Boomtown. So that's the return of the one Scythian lady, and it's sort of like a dinner with Andre sort of situation where my dinner with Margaret,
Oh my God.
where the doctor and Margaret go to dinner, and then Mickey and Rose have their own falling out as well. It's parallel.
Right, it's an emotional episode, and also this clearly evil, farting, people-eating, ugly alien gets hashtag redeemed by being turned into an egg and has the chance to be born and live a different life.
It is a
After eating a
problem.
busybody journalist.
She doesn't eat anybody in this episode. That journalist gets she sets her free because she's like, oh, she's pregnant. I don't want to kill a pregnant woman.
Oh, right.
Which
That
is a
woman lives.
yeah, it's a nice moment in my opinion.
You
I
know,
really like the Mickey and Rose stuff because I think Mickey comes out on top here. Um Actually, I think
yeah,
most of like Mickey and Rose's fights come out with him on top, if I'm being honest.
Mickey is
Because
the done dirty boyfriend of all fiction.
yeah, and I think RTD really recognized that. Like, yes, he will do like Mickey is done dirty, but RTD is like, but it's also not acceptable, and you should judge Rose for the way she's treating him.
Yeah. So
um,
I would put this in like a C tier level
mhm.
because it doesn't like jump out in my heart. I wouldn't seek watching it again, but it didn't suck.
No, I wouldn't throw it away. I would, or even put it in D tier. I think it maybe
I,
is high C tier.
I can't wait to throw an episode away, let me tell you.
I know. I can already think of one that I want to throw away.
All right, what do we have here?
And now we have the two-part finale. So this is where everybody gets sent to game shows, and then it's revealed that the Daleks have been behind the stagnation of humanity. And this is the regeneration episode of the Ninth Doctor, unfortunately. I wish we could have had more of him.
Is it his regeneration episode?
Yeah, it
Doesn't
is.
his, doesn't his hand have to get a cut off first in a
Nope,
duel
that's
on
next
top of a
episode. That's next
saucer?
episode. Nope, that's David
No.
Tennant.
David Tennant's hand gets sliced off in a duel with it. Okay.
Yeah, on set. That wasn't practical effects. They cut a man's hand off.
They cut David Tennant's hand off and gave him a great prosthetic.
Yeah, that he still uses to this day.
Yeah, and just Jessica Jones, the filming, they were like, do we cut off his hand in this show too?
I'm gonna put this. I want to goat this two-parter. I think
What
it's.
about this two-parter, huh?
I want to goat this two. Only because, not only because, but I do think that it is kind of the best finale in the RTD era. I think
Is this when she unburies the gays?
yes, this is where Rose
Captain Jack is
unburied,
killed,
and
and
then
she's like, that's not acceptable.
yeah, Rose goes full Tumblr and unburies a gay.
You know, good for her.
Which again, great moment for Rose because at the end of part one, the doctor sends her back and is like, "No, you can't be here. I'm gonna save your life," and she spends part two trying to get back, which is a really good moment. I really like that she has this like, I don't know. Billie Piper is such a good actor because you get that not desperation but like determination to get what she wants to get done.
Well, while I wouldn't personally goat this two-parter, I will accept if you do. It's not one of my goateds, but I recognize that it's a very good finale.
Well, not only it's a very good finale, but I think it pulls every string of the season perfectly. Um, I think the Doctor's arc coming to a head here, where he has to decide whether he wants to blow up another planet to kill the Daleks and decides not to, is a very strong character moment. He's like, I don't want to cause another genocide. So seeing him kind of come out the other side is such a triumphant, nice moment. And also, I think his last line is very good before he regenerates, when he tells Rose, "You were fantastic, and you know what? So was I." And then he blows up in a brilliant corona of light.
Oh, wait, that was good. And also, when you have an actor who's Northern, getting them to say fantastic one last time so that it's, you were fantastic.
And you know what? So was I. And that wasn't that wasn't a Northern accent. You know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna split this two-parter. I'm gonna put the first part in A, low A, mid A, and then I'm gonna put
because her getting like evaporated in a game show was cool,
yeah.
but it wasn't like goated.
But I'm going to put the finale in goated because I just think it's super emotional. It gets me every single time. Okay, so next we've got The Christmas Invasion, which is David Tennant's first episode.
Oh yeah, this episode is okay. The elephant in the room with this episode is literally the last 15 seconds. I'm gonna summarize it. Aliens invade Earth and infiltrate basically like brain chips or whatever, but it's basically our cell phones. They infiltrate our cell phones. Something
No,
everyone
blood
has.
magic. It's blood magic.
Oh, sorry, they do blood magic, right? And on Christmas morning, they force, I think, 1 in 3 humans on the entire planet to walk to a high precipice and stand there and then threaten the Earth to give them all their resources or everyone will jump off. Obviously, these aliens are like really evil.
Slave traders.
Yeah. And so the doctor, like, beats them and negotiates and whatever. And the doctor does not take it very seriously. And Earth takes it with the seriousness that you would. But the doctor knows that this is just an intergalactic grift. So he defeats them. And then they try to escape.
Jones.
And Harriet Jones blows them out of the sky with, like, a bunch of government equipment they've been setting up because it's becoming clear that extraterrestrials are a real threat to Earth. And he basically, he was like, what you did was wrong. And then he like girl bosses her out of being the prime minister by like wielding patriarchy. I'm paraphrasing, but basically he's like, I can't believe you did this. I'm going to end your career with just one sentence. And then he turns to her like main aide and says, don't you think she looks tired? And
Which
then
is...
she like...
Yeah, he goes full MRA on her.
He like exploits her position as a woman politician to end her career on the spot because he's mad that she blew up some aliens that traumatized the entire Earth.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying. And what's annoying about it is that the writing doesn't realize what it's doing. Like, it does not know that in 10 years, we're going to look back at this episode and be like, what an uncomfortable, unjustifiable, and hard to side with thing the doctor is doing.
Yeah.
Instead, we're expected to be like, ooh, don't mess with him. He doesn't like it when you make violence the answer.
I will say, I think that David Tennant, once you watch the rest of his run, I think retroactively the rest of his run makes this moment better because you can sort of see the flaws of this doctor's character a little more clearly. I think you can look back on this episode after watching David Tennant's whole run and being like, oh, okay, I can look back on this, like, for me anyway, I can look back on this and say, this was a character flaw, the fact that he did this, but in the moment, you're right. If we're going to take it...
It takes multiple seasons. The writers at the time thought they were doing something cool. I believe that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's only retroactively that it's like an in-character kind of shitty moment. But other than that, though, I do think that that's a huge flaw with the episode. However, I do think it's a really strong episode. I think a lot of people complain about the fact that for David Tennant's first episode, he's like in bed for most of it. But again, I think it's important to focus on Rose in this episode. She, along with a lot of people at the time, was experiencing what regeneration meant for the first time. So for people who really grew to love Christopher Eccleston, this is kind of a good episode for them to feel with Rose the emotions that they're going through, because she's going through them as well. I just think it's a really clever, beautiful bit of writing.
I have a
Um,
proposition for you.
yeah,
I think this is B tier, but above Slovene.
I agree. I agree.
Okay, yeah, let's pop it.
Okay.
Pop it there.
Next, a very maligned episode, New Earth.
I like New Earth. I have such a soft spot
So do I.
for New.
People hate this episode, and I kind of understand why, but not really.
So New Earth is the one oh no, I'm getting these mixed up with a Martha arc again. But right, they go to the planet with the cat nurses.
They go to New Earth, um,
And
where
there's cat
the
people nurses, and they're
yes
curing diseases by growing a bunch of clones to just
test
give
diseases.
every disease at once.
Yeah,
And it turns out they're in there, conscious, suffering constantly, and Rose does not like that.
yes, and it's the return of Cassandra.
And Cassandra comes back, comes out as a trans woman. We see her before
No,
she was a
she's
kid.
trans in the end of the world. She says it.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
When her and Rose are discussing on the platform, she's like, "I'm the last human ever," and she's like, you're not a human. You're just a bitchy trampoline." And Cassandra's like, "When I was a little boy, I used to run through the fields of whatever," and it was just like a flyby reference.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because, like, I think a lot of people would consider that bad trans writing. But then again, imagine like millennia in the future where there's just like no transphobia whatsoever. And so saying, like, when I was being raised as this gender could just like fly off the tongue and just not even be a thing.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't think it's necessary. I don't even think it's problematic in concept. I think it's fine. I
I think it is okay. It is very cis writing trans, but
yes.
it's whatever.
But I've also met plenty of trans people in real life who do use terminology like that because that's what they're most comfortable with. Like, there
Yeah.
are plenty of trans people who are like, "Oh, I have always been X gender." And then there are some who are like, "Yes, I was raised as X and then transitioned," or "I used to be X and now I'm Y," whatever. Pun intended, I guess. Um,
Right.
so I
To the
don't think
person.
I don't think it's like I don't know. I think it would be a hard sell for me to be like for somebody to be like that was transphobic. That would be a hard sell for me.
Fair
But
enough.
anyway,
Well,
New
we're
Earth.
sidetracked. She
Yeah.
comes back. She gets kind of a. It's a difficult redemption because she did vaporize a bunch of people, including a cool tree woman. But
Yes.
she kind of gets like her moment. We learn something about her. We explore her vanity. She possesses Rose.
She possesses the doctor and then she possesses one of the suffering clones and has like a come to Jesus moment. Um
God, this is a good episode. What's the hate?
so
Is it
the
because
hate
the cats are weird?
So the hate again mostly comes from the fact that it's campy with the cat nuns, which I think is always a stupid um, criticism. The
Fucking A tier.
other, sorry,
I was gonna say fuck it, A tier. If people just hate the cats, let them suffer. It's
and
A
the
tier.
and the other problem is that people have is with the general plot, like the idea of the clones and the solution of the episode, when the doctor just kind of takes all of the cures and mixes them together in like a jungle juice of medicine and then sprays it on all of them and everything's fine. What are you moving around?
What am I moving something? Are you hearing this?
I am hearing it. It's so loud.
Like this?
Yeah.
Am I coming? Am I coming through the microphone? I think I'm coming through. Because you
Are you-
shouldn't. Hey, how's this?
Way better.
Okay, I was not coming through the headset this whole time. I was taking, like, horrible speakers. Oh no!
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm so sorry, everyone.
the gating is a little harsh on it, but I think that's just the headset, right?
Sure, sure.
Okay. Okay, this is way better. So anyway, the jungle juice medicine thing is a real problem for people, but and again, it's like the writing is so good, Cassandra's so good. I think my biggest critique is that for David Tennant's first full episode as the Doctor, he spends a lot of it possessed by Cassandra. So it's kind of like it's kind of rough in that way because you don't really get him a lot. Um, but other than that, I really don't hate. I think this is a way overhated episode.
Yeah, Cope and Seethe, A tier.
I don't think I would put it in A tier. I think I would put it high B.
Okay. We can start to define B as being actually good if this episode is high B and Slithbean is low B.
You hate the two-parters so much, and I get it. Fat phobia is not cool. But
And
as
also, like, constant flatulence is not funny.
no, I know. But it's fine. Well, we've moved on.
Yeah, okay. What are we
Um,
looking at here?
B is still flawed. There are flaws in these episodes, but they are not like unwatchable. So for next we've got Tooth and Claw, the werewolf episode.
This episode was so bizarre, but
This
it's
episode
also
is
where season 2 picks up for me.
It is some of the best banter I think that we get. Like I think the banter is never ending and very fun.
Yeah, how do we rank an episode where I think the story itself and also every like costuming and monster inclusion choice is really stupid. The sci-fi is like threadbare to the absolute limit, but the writing moment to moment is always good and hilarious.
Queen Victoria, my favorite of the British monarchs.
Yeah,
I mean, she was done so well.
yeah, yeah.
And also, it starts off the arc of Rose and the 10th Doctor's sort of cavalier attitude to traveling. And how Rose is sort of becoming a bit of a... She's your friend from college who went to Barcelona. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, she's becoming a little bit of a... she's changing. She's becoming kind of a worse person. In a good way, in a character way. People
And
hate
actually, the
season
episode
2
before
Rose.
this, we see Rose changing as well.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Where there's this great speech where someone is like, "I'm the last person. There's no people left," and she's like, "Yeah, but it's been like a billion years, man. They just evolved. Like
That's the
it
end
does.
of the world.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter."
Yeah. No, she's great. A lot of people hate season 2 Rose, and I just don't get it. It's whatever. Imagine a character with flaws.
Yeah, like people. You don't have to like every second of a person.
I think I have to put Tooth and Claw in C tier.
I know. I love the episode. I have a soft spot for it, but I think objectively, it's not great.
The
Can we put it
banter,
at the top?
the banter. Yeah, we're gonna put it at the top of C. I think the banter is amazing. Maybe mid C. I think the banter is incredible, but the plot itself and the story just doesn't do anything.
It's just like, my name's Queen Victoria. My dad gave me an alien diamond in case a werewolf I don't even know, man.
Oh, it was Albert, though. Albert was studying werewolves or whatever. I don't know. It's very funny.
And there's Shaolin monks. Guys, for the benefit of the audience who do not watch Who, there's Shaolin monks for some reason.
And they vanish. There's no conclusion for them.
And you bet they're all white.
Ugh, they are... Yeah, it's rough. They get... Anyway, they're the cult of the wolf. It sucks. Whatever. Next episode is School Reunion. Oh...
Oh, wait a second. Is this our first throw it in the trash?
I don't want to throw it in the trash, but
Because there's a classic companion. It is a bad episode, Todor.
It's
bad.
so bad. It is such a bad episode. I know. So... This episode is a problem for me because I can see how it could work. I really love the alien threat. I do love the Krillitane as a concept. I don't love them in execution.
Yeah, we're not rewarding high concept thrown into the shitter. So,
well, if anything, that makes it worse for me.
Yeah, there's an alien race that infiltrates. It's very Pink Floyd's The Wall. They infiltrate a British private school, and they're a race that like makes themselves evolve by literally stealing the traits and the best traits and genetics that they like from whoever they visit.
It's sort of like a genetic colonization.
Yeah, they're genetic colonizers. But Anyway, that concept is just what they are. It doesn't matter in the episode. So they're here, and there is just this code that you can crack that will allow you to edit all of space and time however you want. That just exists. And they're realizing that in order to crack it, they can just harness the minds and imaginations of human children at school.
British school children. Yeah,
British school children have the secret.
It's so bad. Because the thing is, it would be one thing if they were, like, sort of trying to farm brains to, like, appropriate. I thought that was... So when I first watched the episode, I was like, oh, this is good. They colonize biological or genetic things, so they're trying to make children smarter to harvest their brains and make themselves smarter. But it's not. That's not it.
Doing that.
It's just that they just leave that on the fucking table.
They just leave it. They never use the race again, and instead they're like, "There's just a thing that exists that unlocks the universe." And
It's
the
so
kids
bad.
are staring at shapes on a screen. It's also very much like, oh, kids and screens. Oh, kids being abused by the education system. But like, it doesn't
really have anything to
say.
Things. Yeah, it doesn't have much to say about it. But then you have Sarah Jane, and she's so good.
She's super cute and lovely, and there's a robot dog, but none of it saves this.
No, I know. I want to put it in D. I don't know.
This is our inaugural D tier for sure. There's worse episodes to come.
Yeah, I don't think this is a throw it away, because I do think that it's a good moment for Sarah Jane and Rose as two companions to kind of meet, have a fight, and then kind of resolve it very quickly.
At the beginning of Rose being like, oh, there's past companions? Dude, is there just a string of disposed time-traveling women? And the answer is, of course, yes.
Yes. Which, again, I really like that concept, and I like it for Rose, because she's like, I think she's only like 20 or 21 at this point, the character. So, like, yeah, she's petty and jealous, and I like that. But again, people hate Rose for this moment because, oh, she's being petty and jealous. And I'm like, God, imagine a character with flaws.
So next up we have The Girl in the Fireplace, which I'm going to goat right away.
Mama, goated with the sauce.
This is one of my favorite episodes in the entire series.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, basically it is an interaction, a very mysterious interaction, and a very mysterious bond through time between the Doctor and Madame de Pompadour, who's a French revolutionary figure, who's portrayed by a wonderful, wonderful actress. Madame de Pompadour in actual history died very young and under mysterious circumstances before or perhaps during the French Revolution. And the Doctor has this special connection with her where he's trying to figure out the secret of this ship they're commandeering, but he keeps seeing her, like, through time and through objects in her, through windows, through fireplaces. And they kind of have this romantic undertone. But
I think it's a pretty explicit love story.
Yeah, and there's beautiful sets and costumes and
the costumes.
And they essentially do like a bit of a time traveler's wife thing, which is a love story lived out of order for the different people. Well,
and what's cool,
a crutch for Moffat, doesn't it?
It does later on, but we'll get there eventually. So what I love about this episode is that it sets up a typical sort of Doctor Who historical episode where it's like, ooh, this character died under mysterious circumstances. I wonder why. Maybe it was an alien reason. And then in the end, you realize, like, oh no, the Doctor saves her and she just dies the way she dies in real life. And you're like, oh, this good subversion of the trope.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, Toto and I are agreed. This is just one of my favorite and most memorable episodes. My God, it's got cinematography. There's like,
yeah, it's goated. I'm putting it in the sauce.
Yeah.
The next episode is the Cyberman two-parter, The Rise of the Cybermen and The Age of Steel.
I'm not crazy about Cybermen, and I think a lot of airtime is used with just scary music playing while they march and look like people in robot suits.
So I think I'll disagree with you on that. I do like the Cybermen, and I think this story is the closest we get to what I love about the Cybermen, which is body horror and personhood debates.
Right. Oh,
And
like
it's
when they pull like the biomass out of one of their heads, and it's like really stretchy, like
yeah.
stringy.
And it's
Yeah.
really scary, and it, like, I don't know, I find the Cybermen very scary. I think this is the only story, though, if I'm being honest, of the modern era entirely, that I think gets the closest, and even it kind of stumbles on its heels a bit. I don't understand what the main villain stands to gain by converting everyone else if he already wants to convert himself to save his own life. I don't understand why he would need to, convert other people. I think that's a weird
Yeah.
plot thing. And I think that could be fixed by having the real villain be one of his underling scientists. So we had that one scientist who's sort of like working under Lumen, and he has this scene where he's like toying with the people when they have their
Under
headsets
Lumen?
on. Under Lumen, yeah, or
His
Lumic. No, I think his name is Lumen.
his name is Lumen?
Yeah, John
I love
Lumen.
that.
Yeah, John Lumen.
Yeah, praise Kier.
Lumin. Praise Kier.
Everyone please hold on a second. Can I get a praise Kier in the chat?
So my script doctoring of this two-parter is the real villain should be the scientist who's working under John Lumen, who, seems to take sadistic delight in making Cybermen, whereas Lumen just seems to want to save his own self and become immortal. And I also just think that Lumen shouldn't have become a giant robot king. Like, he should have just kind of, once he was converted, faded into the background of, like, because the Cybermen, the whole idea of the Cybermen is the loss of individuality. Like, that's kind of part of their horror. So it doesn't make sense for them to convert Lumen and suddenly be like, you're our king now. You have an individual. Like, that makes no sense to me. I would have rather just, like, sort of like a monkey's paw poetic justice thing, where it's like, oh, Lumen, he's now going to be able to live forever. His goal is achieved, except now he has no individuality. That's how I feel about it. I would put this in. There's also very evocative imagery. I like the Rose meeting her parallel universe family stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, the parallel universe is a good concept.
Oh,
God.
and justice for Mickey. Mickey gets like his exit, and he's like proven right. And the story's like, yeah, Rose, Doctor, you really mistreat him, and you guys.
I'm gonna say the parallel universe hijinks and the ending, where
Yeah.
they're made to have their emotions turned back on and they have to confront what they really are, and that drives them all mad. That's just a very literary ending. I think that makes this low B tier.
I agree. We're gonna put this story in low B.
It's got to be above Slitheen.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
I would sooner rewatch Cybermen than Slitheen.
You know what? Fair. I think we might have our first throw it away. The Idiot's Lantern.
The Idiot's Lantern. Hungry.
I hate this episode.
Hungry. Are you seated comfortably?
I hate this episode. I want to love it because I love Rose's outfit, but I think it's so bad.
We get this. Someone tried to do something evocative and then just pressed that note until it was annoying.
Well, the actor that again, this is Mark Gatiss. This is the guy who wrote the Unquiet Dead.
Gatiss. I'm sorry, Gatiss. I don't like him a lot.
So the problem is, like, we have this amazing actor to play the villain, and she gets wasted in the second half of the episode.
She's like this. She's a woman in a TV in the 1950s. She's all done up in full black and white. She's got this lovely transatlantic accent, retro TV show host with like a spritz of horror on it, something you can't understand. And then, I don't know, it's television sucking people's face off because of a radio signal she needs to get back to space, and all she does for the second half is just go, hungry.
I'm hungry. And you're like, shut up, bitch.
Yeah, it's not scary. It's not funny.
Oh, and then the very end of the episode has, like, Rose tell a young boy to go forgive his abusive dad. It's so horrible.
His abusive, implied to be homophobic, implied to be physically abusive, to the son and the wife. They have a moment at the end where they're like, "But he's your dad."
Yeah, and it's like so garbage because like there's the whole triumphant moment of the wife being like, "Get out. I'm sick of you." And it's like, "Yeah, you get him." And then they just reverse it by having the son be like, "Oh," or having Rose be like, "But he's your dad." And you're like, God, this is so out of character for Rose. And it also just makes no sense. Like, if you want to do this thing where Rose has like daddy issues, so she's like, "Oh, you should forgive him, he's your dad," then you can't make the dad as irredeemably abusive as this guy is.
Yeah, you can't make him a homophobic alcoholic.
It makes Rose look like a big idiot. It's so bad. And Rose isn't a big idiot. This episode is just awful.
I think enough said. Let's throw it away.
Throwing it away. Okay.
Throw it away.
The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. Goated with the sauce.
Time to go.
Goated with the sauce. Goated. Goated with the sauce.
Goated.
Perfect episode beginning to end. I'm sorry. I literally have... Yeah, I literally have no complaints about this episode. Or this two-parter.
We almost don't need to say a lot, but for the benefit of anyone who's not Whovian, it's like just gripping mystery and horror on a far, far out space station with lots of Chekhov's guns planted and then cranked for the maximum suspense with like old mythology thrown in and just really good imagery.
It's genius. Yeah, there's so much great iconography. There's I don't know. I just think it's perfect. I don't really have anything to say except like this is a perfect episode, like two-parter, and you should... I wouldn't say start with this, because I feel like you should build up to it. You should get used to these characters.
What we have here is just such a killer ensemble cast.
Yeah, if I had to like draft a perfect season of Doctor Who, this two-parter would be in there somewhere.
Yeah. Do we have our second trash?
Love and Monsters. This is a rough one.
Throw it away. Throw it away.
Let me list
it off. Okay, we have a bad frame narrative that is impossible to relate to and doesn't matter. A character who is annoying in the 2000s is making a vlog about what has already happened. It's really dated. It's really cringy.
And also, vlogs don't work the way this show seems to think they do.
Correct. They do vlogs wrong because they had literally just been invented 2 years ago or something. And then we meet characters who are really
YouTube was only founded the year before. 2005. So this is 2006. So literally they're like, this YouTube thing. And then they don't understand how YouTube works.
So inside that frame narrative that is stupid and pointless and wastes time, we essentially have a group of friends at a support group for people who think they've had close encounters with, like, the Doctor or the paranormal. They're all quirky. We get to know them. And then they are meaninglessly killed off one by one, fused into the belly of this really annoying monster that just has their faces all over him.
And then
there's no way to save them. An extremely cavalier Doctor and Rose show up and are like, "Oh yeah, we can't save these people." And then
do we even want to spoil this ending? I feel like this is something people have to see for themselves.
The ending is so bad you have to see it to believe it, but it's sort of like
it's
like trying to punch, but you, the audience, feel punched. Like,
yeah, it's punching the audience, not the yeah.
It's like, did you get attached to these characters that we made cute? Idiot.
Yeah.
We're gonna do something not just bad to make it tragic. We're gonna do something stupid and
horrible. I don't know that I want to throw it away, though, only because I think I can script doctor this episode. The Idiot's
but you didn't. Are you getting weak now?
No. The Idiot's Lantern, in my brain, I can't save. It's sort of like School Reunion, where I have this, like, alternate version that I feel like could be good. And I think okay. The thing is, this is another episode like Father's Day that did not need a stupid alien. They already had Torchwood going through. So if you had this sort of subplot where Elton and the group, the friend group, were like infiltrated by Torchwood to like, oh, we hear that you guys have a support group for people who've encountered the Doctor. We're gonna use your group to like do research for us, and because the thing is, the episode kind of feels like it was meant to be a love letter to fans, and really failed at that. Because the
It's
idea,
kind of a hate letter to fans.
well, the whole concept is like, oh, these people come together because they've all had encounters with the Doctor. So in the audience sense, it's like people who've watched Doctor Who. And they sort of bond, and soon their friendships develop beyond what their interaction with the Doctor is, which is kind of the way some friend groups work. You meet somebody through like an online forum or something, like of oh, I love this show, I want to see other people who love this show too, and then you actually become friends in real life. And I could see I can see the concept working in a way that I think the Idiot's Lantern just couldn't. But it's mishandled so poorly. I love all the Jackie stuff, I will say. I think Jackie is the highlight of the episode. But, yeah, I don't want to throw it away. Because I think there is a spark. I know, there is a spark there for me that I love, but...
this tier is for episodes that I just would not watch again.
Yeah, I know. We're going to throw it away.
What have we got next?
Next, we have literally the most over-hated episode of Doctor Who I think I've ever seen. Fear Her.
Oh, Fear Her. It's the Kookaburra episode.
Yeah, the drawing and Chloe Webber with the Isolus. People hate this episode so much. Like, there are multiple, like, people... And, like, I've seen multiple, like, tier lists and stuff calling it, like, one of the worst episodes of Doctor Who ever. And I'm just like, it's not that bad.
In fact, we're not even going to put it and throw it away, so you know that there's worse ones.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even... I would put it in, like, C tier. Like, I don't...
C-tier.
I don't think it's horrible. I think people are just, like, annoying. Because
I think it's, like, slightly repetitive and slightly boring, but we've discussed worst sins today.
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't even find it that boring. I like the scribbly monster. I like the concept.
It's another episode with like an alien who kind of imprints on a child and is ultimately not a harmful force, but is just lost and confused, and that is manifesting in what appear to be monster attacks, but it doesn't cross the moral horizon. Nobody is like killed. But like the manifestation of the girl's father who left is like scribbly drawings appearing in real life because it's kind of like manifesting what it's reading in her mind.
Well, not only the father who left, but like an abusive father. So like this episode actually does a lot better than the Idiot's Lantern because it paints the abusive father as an abuser who doesn't need to be forgiven. Wow! Like, Jesus Christ. Like, people who call this worse than, like, the Idiot's Lantern, I don't actually know how to, like, talk to them. Like, they're not even people to me.
Philosophical zombies.
Philosophical zombies. I love the concept, and I think the acting is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I can't deny the fact that it makes me cry. Like, the climax when the mother and the daughter are singing together to banish the dark, malevolent force of the abusive, father. I just think it's a really moving moment that, like, I can't even talk about it now without getting choked up.
So C tier?
I want to put it at, like, the bottom of B.
I accept this.
Top of C or bottom of B? Because I really don't think it... I'm gonna put the top of C. The Doomsday finale, the two-parter.
Oh.
Rose on a Beach.
Rose on a Beach.
If you were on Tumblr in 2006, which I wasn't...
Rose on a Beach ruined your entire life. It's all you talked about. If you forced someone to read the sentence Rose on a Beach, it was a hate crime.
I think it's a good finale. I don't think it's, like, amazing, but I do quite like it a lot. I think it's very emotional. I think
It's the classic finale two-parter where like 10 billion Daleks show up and point a gun to everyone's heads.
and then 10 billion Cybermen show up and point a gun to everyone else's heads.
And it's like, oh no, here's so many shots of every single family, just like yours, cowering under the guns of Daleks and Cybermen pointed at their heads. The whole world.
Yeah, it's a very bombastic finale. I also like the fact that it's a culmination of the arc of this season of Rose's sort of cavalier attitude to danger or the Rose and the Doctor's cavalier attitude towards danger is what separates them in the end. I think that's a really good way to close out their story.
I hate to say it, but could we put the first part of the two-parter in B and the second part high A?
High A?
I
like-
really think like their split is incredible TV.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Where do you want to put part one? Because I will say part one also has
Better
evil.
than Slitheen.
Yes, I will say I think it's also better than. You know what? Yeah, I'll put it like top of B. How about that?
Yep, top of B, and then
I also love Yvonne, the head of Torchwood. I think she's sensational.
Mhm.
Part two, you want to put in A.
Yeah.
Above. Let's put it above. Where do you want to put it?
Right. Yeah, wherever.
Wherever.
Yeah, like I'm cool with it. I mean, I
Okay.
technically think it's better than Dalek, but
You really hate Dalek. You look at that episode and you think, I wish it was a person so I could smash its face in and kill it.
heaven is a place where I can destroy CD copies of the episode Dalek.
Yeah, that's how you feel.
That's how I feel.
I hope you. Never mind. I'm not going to make any more.
Yes. Do not manifest anything.
I was going to say
Wedding
some
episode.
real crazy stuff. Next, we have the Runaway Bride, our introduction to the incomparable Donna Noble.
But having no idea she's going to become a companion yet, they just threw her in the mix.
Yeah,
filmed
she
the
was just supposed to be a one-off character played by a popular comedian.
So anyway, she's engaged to be married to someone who moved suspiciously quickly. Turns out he was a servant of the Spider Queen.
Yes, as it happens.
That's just how it goes sometimes in a relationship. But I feel that this episode's vibe is like B, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's low B, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, but not lower than Slitheen.
No, okay, nothing will be lower than Slitheen in B. Jesus Christ. I think
Just
I'm gonna,
saying.
yeah, I'm gonna put it in low B. I do love the seeds that are being planted for for Donna and the Doctor's relationship, but again, they didn't know that those seeds were being planted.
Yeah.
So
The seeds were being planted at the level of production.
Smith and Jones, Martha's introduction. I put this on the same level as Rose.
This started a meme for us because this is the hypoxia episode.
The hypoxia episode. Everything's hypoxia.
Everything's Okay, Toter and I have a thing where whenever there's a show where you have to just not think about a basic principle of health or science in order to just enjoy yourself, we yell hypoxia because an entire hospital full of people, patients and workers, is teleported to the moon so that some rhino people can do a criminal
Did you do?
investigation there. You know, completely flippant of the fact that a bunch of innocents are just on the surface of the moon, and when the oxygen bubble depletes, they will all die.
Well, they're cops, so they don't care about people.
Correct. So the like central suspense of the episode, everyone passes out from lack of oxygen before the oxygen is turned on and they're all suddenly okay. And my hypochondriac ass just sat there like,
If you're passing out, you're dead.
no, not if you're passing out, you're dead, but all of them would have various impacts on quality of life, some permanent, if a whole hospital was deprived of oxygen to the point of blacking out.
There were
And I
people in
just
there
think that's not a
probably
happy ending.
There were probably people in there having brain surgery at the time.
I know, like, all the surgeries that were interrupted, it's like, I just can't, certain things I can't turn my brain off and have a good time. I'm like, no, none of them were saved. You need to turn the oxygen back on sooner. The doctor failed.
Everyone's dead.
Everyone has brain damage. They're only going to be at 90% for the rest of their lives.
But Martha's here, and she is amazing.
Oh, we love Martha.
So the thing about companion introductions is that you need to do a couple things. You need to show us, and this is the most important one, you have to show us why the Doctor wants to travel with this person. And I think this episode f***ing nails it. Like, I think Martha really proves herself in one episode why we as the audience and why the Doctor should, like, fall in love with her and take her with us on this adventure. And I think that, for me, is, like, again, it's sort of like the Rose thing, where it's kind of a bog standard story. It's sort of... I think it is sort of like a C tier for what follows.
Sure, yeah.
But it shows us, like, exactly why we should love Martha immediately.
Yeah, and I will say, C tier, we've been putting things in C tier that are not bad at all. C tier is kind of like the standard.
A, B, and C are like, we like these episodes. I'm gonna put it at the top of C. Also, I like the introduction of the Judoon to the Doctor Who universe. I think they're a really great faction. I like the idea that there are space cops, and they're just like real cops in that they just hate everybody.
Oh my god.
The Shakespeare Code.
So this is the episode where he takes... Actually, I'm really fond of aspects of this episode. He takes Martha into Shakespearean times, and there's a lot of
Shakespearean times!
Yeah, Shakespearean times.
Okay.
What, am I supposed to say Elizabethan the first
Yes!
time?
Imagine like imagine
here.
like 100 years ago when people call like 2000 the 2010s like the Gagayan times.
Wow, because she was queen.
Like the Gagarian times.
We're currently living in the Georgian era. Something to think about.
Okay. Anyway,
the first thing she does is like, Doctor, I'm like a black woman. Are we gonna be all right?
And he's kind of flippant towards her.
Well, I actually like that in this episode they played the card, and they also show like the world had somewhat interconnected at this point, and you could see a black woman in England at this time.
Right. It wasn't like yeah.
Yeah, people are like familiar with the concept.
Yeah. They're not just gonna pull you off the street or whatever.
Oh, and like Shakespeare refers to her.
I think he literally calls her like a Nubian queen or something.
He calls her like an Afrique, like like something like wild.
Yeah, it's insane. I like the Carrionites well enough. I think they're an okay villain. I think the running joke of Shakespeare being inspired by what other people are saying in the moment is very funny.
Yeah, like he doesn't have any of his own ideas, and also he's a bisexual freak. Very nice.
Yeah. I will say, though, I don't know. I don't want to put it in B. I don't think it's that good.
I'm so fond of this one. Can we at least put it the new top of C?
Either low B or high C.
You know what my problem with this is that it's for sure better than Slitheen.
God, you really hate that, like, other than... We're like, oh, all these other... In A, B, and C, we enjoy all these episodes, but, like, you hate...
I personally hate Slitheen 2-parter.
Oh my god. Like, oh my god. Don't make me say something problematic.
I'm about to become problematic.
Okay, we're gonna put Shakespeare Code then... You know what? Actually, I'm gonna put them mid B.
That's acceptable.
Because this is not an episode I would skip. I think it does a really good job of setting up concepts that are going to be explored further in the future, like Martha's crush on the Doctor. And also, like, the season does mention her race. She's the first black companion of the show. So the season does explore that concept in a few episodes, particularly historicals. And I think it does an okay job at that.
Yeah.
Gridlock. Should we goat this one?
We are going to go Gridlock. It's a personal goat for me, so if you'll permit it, we have to go Gridlock.
My only problem is, again, I don't think this episode needed an alien. I don't think it needed the Macra to come back. The giant crabs at the bottom of the pit.
Let me set the stage. They travel to the future, to New Earth again,
Mhm.
but at a different time period where the city appears to be abandoned, and the only people that they do find are on basically an infinite loop track stuck in permanent traffic, their own cars filtering out the unbreathable smog in this self-contained highway, all of them on multi-year journeys to some destination that the traffic will take them to eventually.
Mhm.
Um, and it is like a zany adventure where they are falling through layers and layers of people's hover cars. They meet colorful futuristic characters as they disturb each of them along the way.
And
Um,
lesbians.
Actual old lesbians.
The only problem with this episode is I do wish it was just like, oh, people's uh people run out of gas and they just fall out of the sky or whatever, and like have that be the danger rather than like, oh, I don't know, there's a monster. Like, we don't need it. But
The scavenging crabs.
I will say, I think I'm going to put Gridlock at the bottom of Goated because of all the complaints I can make, which aren't many, there's literally just one. It's such an emotionally impactful episode. Martha has an amazing moment because her and the doctor get separated. She has this amazing moment of like, if I die here, my parents are never going to know what happened to me. Like, she has this real moment of like, oh, that was the other thing. When you're introducing a companion, you need to do three things, I think. You have to show us why the doctor wants to travel with them and why we as the audience should like them. The next thing you should do is kind of shake their faith in the doctor a little bit, give them a real scare, and then give them a reason to keep traveling as the companion. And I think
That
this
is kind of the formula,
and
yeah.
I think Gridlock does it the best, at least in this season. Gridlock does it really well because it kind of does points 2 and 3 in one episode, where she's like very much scared for her life, but at the end, when the doctor finally releases all the people and like everyone's singing the old rugged cross, I can't help but get choked up at that moment. And I think Martha does too, and she sees sort of like the beauty that can come from traveling with the doctor. And also, she doesn't take his shit when she's like, oh, what's your planet like? And he dodges the question. She's like, okay, I'm going to put this chair here and I'm going to sit on it. And I'm not coming with you until you tell me, like, you answer my questions. Man, Martha slaps. God.
She's really good.
I'm putting it at the bottom of Goated.
Yeah, bottom of Goated is good. What do we have next? Oh, I know what we have next.
What do you mean, creatures? Again, people dislike this two-parter, and I'm just gonna say it. I think it's A tier.
I'm gonna. You know that for me personally, it's Goated.
I know.
I love this two-parter.
I
You're
think
in the 1930s, you're in the Dust Bowl, you're in New York. There's these silly, silly British actors doing silly, silly vintage New York accents.
horrible vintage New York accents.
There's a bunch of pig people who are slaves to the Daleks, so the Daleks are rolling around going, "The pig slaves will obey," and like, there's like a flapper woman who's dating one of
Tallulah.
them. Tallulah, the flapper girl, is dating one of the pig slaves.
Her boyfriend Laszlo the pig slave.
There's like an evil magnate who's like building a big tower, but he's building it according to the Dalek blueprints. Because
Building
he's
a
secretly in
big
their
tower.
pocket.
They're building the Empire State Building.
Yeah, a big tower. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm sorry I don't know Rose's address and her aunt's name and
They're
the
building a big
inconsequential
tower.
building in New York.
They're building a big tower in Shakespearean times.
Shakespearean times is where they went. Canst thou name the year?
1869.
You... Eight... Oh my gosh.
Shakespeare was writing in the mid 1800s.
Yeah. Classic Emily Bronte and William Shakespeare meeting for coffee and absinthe.
Shut up. Okay. Anyway.
My man's a genius.
I love that this episode, I love that the two-parter, going into the more serious praise that I have for the two-parter, I do think that its exploration of Dalek/fascist ideology is really good, because it shows the inability to adapt from rigid race-based uh, power structures, I guess. Because the whole thing is Dalek Sec wants to evolve, and he wants the Daleks to survive, even if it means being in a new form. Whereas the whole thing that brings down this plot is the other Daleks, who are like, no, if we become other things, then we won't be Daleks, and the whole plan gets fucked up. And
That's actually really good sci-fi writing.
Yeah, I think it's really, really good sci-fi writing.
Normally sci-fi writing, and I think especially cyberpunk writing, has an issue of being somewhat Homo sapien essentialist.
Yes.
Is like, if we do something but it makes us no longer human, it's automatically bad.
Yeah.
And this is a bit more like, hey, they have an ideology that also relates to what their species is.
Yeah.
And they can't advance because any advancement makes them no longer Dalek.
Yeah, it literally shows the sort of self-cannibalization of fascism, if I can be so bold.
Yeah. Well, if we're gonna not goat this, can we make it the top of A tier because it's better than Dalek?
You know what? And I will. You know what? Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna put part 1 below Dalek and part 2 above Dalek.
Okay, yeah, because the full like
when everything
really
comes
good Tallulah moments, yeah.
Oh, Tallulah could have been a companion in her own right. Like, and the fact that, again, I was gonna say Rose connects with her. No, Martha connects with her. Oh, and Tallulah just has, like, some amazing, funny lines. Like, she is so good. Like, one of my favorite secondary characters from this season, honestly. The part where she, like, implies the Doctor is gay because he's not into Martha. Like, Queen, this two-parter is overhated because, Dalek Sec looked silly, but like, whatever, dude. We have had way sillier monsters. And speaking of silly, stupid-looking monsters, the Lazarus experiment. I want to throw this away.
I want to throw it away too.
So this episode has almost the same type of wasted potential as something like School Reunion for me, where it's like,
he says, "I want to be immortal by stepping into my immortality machine," and when he walks out, he's a monster and needs to eat people.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is this episode, again, if I may script doctor for a moment.
You may.
I feel like, again, this is another episode that did not need a monster. All you needed was to show side effects of what he was doing to himself to achieve immortality. Do you know what I mean? Like, if this was just like a quiet, character-focused episode where the Doctor's like, you are literally killing yourself to achieve something that nobody should achieve, I can get behind that. Especially because, like, the Doctor is functionally immortal. So you could have a moment, and I think they tried, but it doesn't really land, where the Doctor's like, immortality isn't all it's cracked up to be. It kind of sucks, actually, because you see everybody that you love die or whatever. But they don't really go down that road. They touch on it, and then it goes away. In the trash. Also, it's a good episode for showing how the Doctor kind of mistreats Martha a little bit by using her as bait. For the monster. And I don't think that this is a bad writing thing. I think this is a good writing thing in showing a sort of recurring trend of this season that I think was part of an arc. Mm-hmm. So next we have Burn With Me. Not Burn With Me, that's not the title of the episode. The episode is called 42. 42, the first Chibnall penned episode. Chris Chibnall.
Hey Chibnall, I'm sorry that you had to make a sort of forgettable clone of the Impossible Planet. I don't think it's a throw it away. I think it's a little bit cool.
I think it's a D. I think that the characters are not very well rendered. I think the writing is a little...
The structure is so messy.
The structure is messy. The writing puts pace above, like, quality, so...
But then it's not well paced either.
No, because the Doctor and Martha arrive on the station and immediately we're thrown into a crisis, which isn't a bad way to, like, hook us in, but it just feels so rushed and weird. Because, like, and again, this is a two-parter, but with the Impossible Planet, we have a lot of downtime before we get to the plot. But even in single-part episodes, like New Earth, we still get that downtime at the beginning to just kind of get us used to the characters.
Yeah. This episode is D tier. It invites unfavorable comparison to a really sublime two-parter, and it actually doesn't differentiate itself except in bad ways.
Yeah. Oh, and also special mention to that horrible, stupid joke death in the middle when that one woman, one of her commanding officers or whatever on this ship, on the station, is like, "Oh, we need those tools, hurry, because the whole place is gonna blow up or fall into the sun or whatever." And she's like, she starts complaining about how everybody just asks her to do stuff. And she's like, "Oh, just kill me." And then she closes her locker and the monster is there and kills her. And it's,
yeah, that's really tiresome.
It is one of the most forced jokes I've ever seen. Like, it's bending the way people speak to the breaking point to get to a joke that isn't even good.
I can't believe Chibnall is the Fifth Element joke bender.
Oof, the joke bender. That's it.
The joke bender.
Oh, the
two-parter.
Human Nature and the Family of Blood. Oh, I want to goat this so badly.
I think it's potential to low goat it, even though, in my personal opinion, the 2 New York Dust Bowl episodes are better.
And it's not the Dust Bowl, right? It's just like 1930s New York. The Dust Bowl is in the South.
True. That was a specific place.
Yeah. I as much as I love Daleks in Manhattan, I do have to disagree with you. I do think that this two-parter is way better. I think the character work is excellent. I think Martha is just sensational in this episode, in this two-parter. And I also think David Tennant just kind of rocks the duality of him playing the Doctor and playing John Smith. I think he really does a phenomenal job, especially near the end when he has to reckon with the fact that, like, he's going to die so somebody else will take his place. It's sort of like this weird... It's the idea of regeneration from the point of view of somebody who doesn't know what regeneration is, kind of. Because, like, the idea of regeneration is you die, and then ostensibly somebody else who is like you but very different takes your place. Whereas John Smith, the human character that David Tennant is playing, he doesn't get to live on, he just vanishes. And I think the emotions are just so high in this two-parter.
Oh yeah. I'm also sending a picture of part of what makes this two-parter iconic, which is this one actor who gets possessed by aliens very early on and gets to make this face for the entire
Oh, is this the
episode.
Punchable? Yeah, Punchable.
He's just great. He's doing such a good job, Jeremy Baines.
He's doing literally, like, we don't deserve this. Jeremy, you're a king.
He was in Game of Thrones.
Who does he play?
Oh no, I don't remember, the Targaryen brother who gets molten gold poured on him.
He plays Daenerys' brother?
Yeah.
This king! This punchable white king.
Oh my gosh.
I am going to goat this, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't A tier this. I'm gonna goat it. Because, and also, I think it does such a good job of building on sort of the racism that was introduced in the Shakespeare Code. And I think it does it so much better. I love that scene where oh, here's another thing. People really go back and forth on this episode. Like, every few years, this episode gets brought up on Twitter or something. People are like, this episode was problematic because it showed a racist woman being a heroic character. And I'm sorry. It's like, there's just very little media comprehension in that take, in my opinion.
Right.
I think the way this two-parter handles racism is very good. I think it's excellent. Because yes, is Verity a racist character? Sure. Who wasn't in 1914 or whatever? Like,
right.
It's making the assumption that, like, because she is mildly dismissive of Martha's abilities that
Credentials. Yeah.
well, yeah, because that's a huge, it's such a great scene when she's like, oh, what would you know about medicine, and Martha just like lists off all of the parts of the
Yeah.
hand
She
and like
names
put
like all of the bones in a human hand, and
and
then she's
just
like,
like,
"Should I continue?"
yeah, and it's so good, and you see this like, I don't know, I just think like, I think people really like to reduce the way this episode handles racism, but I think it's like the best one that we've had so far. I don't
It's a
know.
delicate line, right? You want to portray history in a way that doesn't pretend racism didn't exist unless you're doing some kind of fantasy thing where you want the relief from that. But you also don't want to portray racism in a way that is hostile to the viewer.
Yeah.
So I understand calling it problematic or saying that it's not for you. I think that makes sense. But I guess from my limited perspective, having watching it, I was like, this is difficult viewing, but it's within bounds.
Yeah, what, like, I don't even think that calling it problematic is valid, honestly. I think I think the characters can be problematic.
Right, the characters are being problematic. Ignoring this would be problematic in a different way.
Yeah, because I think it's just a really nuanced approach, and I think Twitter is not built for nuance. I don't know if that's a hot take for anybody in the world. But Tumblr and Twitter are not the places to go if you want nuanced discourse on heavy political topics.
So that said, I think the next episode is the Weeping Angel introduction, isn't it?
Blink, mama.
We're goating this.
Are we gonna goat this?
I personally would goat this.
I would put it high A.
I would also accept that. This episode is, God, what's the writer's name again? Moffat?
Stephen Moffat.
Yeah, Stephen Moffat. I mean, people refer to this episode when they talk about why Stephen Moffat seemed like a promising choice for showrunner, like why he was
Absolutely.
really easy to get excited about.
Yeah.
Because stuff like this was just like, it's just juiciest hook. Really good, enduring mystery, strong aesthetic choices around that mystery, and then just enough is revealed.
I think you could point to some complaints, like how the speed of the angels is very inconsistent. I don't really care about that. Like
No.
that doesn't bother me.
The speed should be difficult to understand, and I also think the resolution, like how they get away, is really freaking smart.
Yeah, it's clever. And not clever in that sort of pat yourself on the back way. It's just like a really good conclusion.
Yeah, you don't feel cheated in any way. You're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, that's how you would stop them.
And also,
even though they've been stopped, they're terrifying because they're still there.
Yeah, you can still see them, and you know that if anything happens, if they're moved, it could happen. Like things could get bad again.
Yeah.
Like if somebody comes into that basement, picks one of them up, and just turns it around, it's over.
Yeah.
The concept is cool, and I will say, like, this is one of the I don't want to say one of the few episodes, but it's one of the best examples of a show about time travel having time travel be at the center of a storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I put this top of A.
You know I want to goat it, but top of A is acceptable.
Top of A is like brushing upon the heel of goated. I mean, you did make me put Dalek in A when I would have goated it, so.
Oh, I would never goat Dalek.
Call this retribution.
Wow, that is how we solve disputes.
That's how our relationship works.
Retributive justice, an eye for an eye.
Yeah. Okay, so next we have a 3-parter finale.
Oh, is this the fucking...
So a bit of backstory. The sort of arc of the RTD era is the Doctor trying to move past his involvement in something called the Time War, in which he had to genocide his entire people and also the enemies. He couldn't avoid killing both of them. So he thinks he's the last Time Lord. So you have this big reveal where, oh no, there actually is still one left. And what I love about this reveal is that it's perfect in every way. Let me explain. It builds on literally not every single piece, but so many of the pieces that have been planted throughout the season. So the Fob Watch, You Are Not Alone, all of these like little things that you kind of dismiss as one-off episode things. Like in the Family of Blood, there's the Pocket Watch, the Chameleon Arch, which can change a Time Lord's genetic structure to make them human or any other species, so that they can hide, I guess, or go into hiding. The drawback is that they forget who they are and they're given a new identity. And when you're watching the Family of Blood Human Nature two-parter, you're thinking, oh, okay, this is a really cool one-off concept for an episode. And then the scene where Dr. Yana and Martha are talking and he pulls out the watch and she recognizes this.
Oh, that is quite good.
And you're like, hold on. There's another Fob Watch. Who could this be? Is he also a Time Lord? And the look on Martha's face. I do think this is a stellar episode for the way that it pulls all of the strings of the season. Maybe mid-A. I think I'll put it above Empty Child. Just because, I don't know. The Empty Child had such big emotions. It makes me cry every time. I'm going to put it below Empty Child, but just below. Yeah, no, sorry, if you have anything to say about this episode.
No, the problem is my recollection of the beginning of this three-parter is like fuzzy, but I remember it's starting strong.
Yeah. I guess we could group the last two episodes if you want.
I think so.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, the finales, the last two episodes are The Sound of Drums and The Last of the Time Lords. A strong part 1 with a bit of a messy part 2.
I think it's all ridiculous. The Master turns every single person on Earth into a stupid copy of the Master, and they're all very
No.
zany and annoying and
This is
punchable.
you're thinking of the wrong episode.
Ah! What?
This is the one where the Master takes over the Earth and he uses those little metal balls that are people or whatever.
Is that not the same as when he turns everyone into a clone of himself? No, that's when he comes back and he breathes lightning and he's like, oh god.
Yeah.
Oh man.
This is
I
the
like
stronger.
Master.
I know you don't. But this is the episode where he has like a wife and he has this like very tragic arc in part 2.
Does he or does he not kill the President of the United States?
He fully vaporizes the President of the United States, Mama. He did that. He did
Oh, and then
that.
he kind of Thanos' a little bit. He like kills 10% of people and they have to undo it.
Which I'm okay with. People complain because they're like, oh, it takes away the stakes if you reverse things. But I'm like, 10% of the human population is a lot. I'm okay with reversing this.
Can I call this a C tier two-parter?
I think a
don't
lot
it's
of people.
bad.
I think a lot of people would agree with that, and I don't think I disagree either. I would probably put it mid-high C, only because I think the Martha stuff is excellent. I think Martha has a really good showing. I think her speech to the Doctor at the very end, when everything's said and done and she decides that she doesn't want to be in the TARDIS anymore, I think Martha standing in her power in the last few minutes
Oh my god.
is shut up, is really good. I'm trying to genuinely praise this. Can you please not make this one of your silly jokes, please?
I understand high C. I do think it is better than the hypoxia episode.
Yeah, I do like it. I think that I think the stuff with the Doctor and the Master are probably the weaker elements of the finale. I know
like, ooh, he's not alone. Ooh, they have a special relationship. They were boyhood trauma buddies.
Yeah, which I don't dislike, but I think that it's less interesting than the Martha stuff.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think
I'll concede that.
Also, Martha's hot boyfriend Thomas Mulligan.
Oh yeah, this is the what? Okay. Yeah, I might even put this bottom of B tier because remembering that this is her moment to travel the entire alternate hellscape of Earth.
Yeah. And literally save the day, because that's the arc of this season, is Martha being this, like, just saving getting the Doctor out of every scrap that he gets himself into.
Literally becoming the hero of the world out of devotion.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Also, the reveal of what the Toclafane are is so heartbreaking and really beautifully like gut-wrenching.
That is true, yeah.
I think I'm going to put part 1 at the bottom of B and part 2 in the top of C.
Okay.
Because part 2, I don't know, it's fine. The reveal of the Toclafane is super strong, but other than that, and also Martha's speech at the end is really strong. But in terms of like the plot itself, it's eh. The Master is the Master. I know you don't like John Sims' interpretation.
The Master's a prick.
He's the Joker. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to say that about John Sims' Master. I don't think he's the Joker. You'll see.
All right, so what's next?
Voyage of the Damned, the Titanic episode. The Titanic in space.
Right, so here we have a futuristic parallel of the Titanic, which is that there is a replica space Titanic orbiting Earth, and
as like a rich people vague tour of like Earth's
Cosmos.
concept of Christmas. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
so,
like,
it is
this-
a Christmas Titanic spaceship.
Yeah. That is about to be destroyed or crashed into Earth for like insurance money, basically.
What
and
you need
that's
to know about this episode is that
Kylie
Kylie
Minogue.
Minogue gets vaporized.
No, she doesn't. She falls off a ledge.
She falls off a cliff and becomes a horrific, like, transporter clone ghost echo that's like, why am I falling? Why didn't the doctor save me? And it's Kylie Minogue.
And she's so good.
She's actually a really heavy contributor to the episode.
Like, I know people who are like, man, she should just be the next companion because she really is that good.
And then also we have Russell Tovey, who is the gay who can't die.
Oh, they unbury him. Actually, they don't bury him at all.
I mean, constantly threatening to bury a gay and then not doing it is kind of what RTD does.
Yeah. You know what? And you know what? There was supposed to be even more gay rep in the series than they even had put in there already. Than even made it to the final cut, I should say. Like Ricky was supposed to be gay, the parallel universe version of Mickey. That the kid from the Idiot's Lantern, the son, was supposed to be gay. I think the stakes.
It's definitely very sad that we lost all of our cute NPCs.
Yeah, I think the stakes are really well established. I think it gives us enough time with the characters before the tragedy strikes that we actually get to know them and connect with them. And they also mostly die in ways that are really tragic and impactful. I'm gonna put this maybe in C tier. I don't know. Would it be B? What are you thinking?
It's better than Slitheen.
I mean,
I'm sorry, that's the metric. It's better than Slitheen. We better put it in B tier.
Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna put it in B. We're gonna put it maybe. Should we put it above the Runaway? No, it's not above the Runaway Bride. I'm putting it below
the Runaway Bride.
No, I think it's exactly where it needs to be. Partners in Crime, our reintroduction to Donna Noble.
That was a good growl. We love Donna Noble. One
of the, if not the most beloved, like, companion of Doctor Who in his Doctor Who history.
Yeah, the Doctor's an off-kilter figure, and when there's an off-kilter companion, sometimes it's right.
Sometimes it's just right, because she has everything that makes a companion good. She doesn't put up with his shit. She calls him out. She's very inquisitive on her own. And she also has flaws that are relatable. And because the thing with, like, Rose is people really hate her for, oh, she's petty, she's immature, she's cavalier, this and that. Even though those are aspects that are already in her character, like, those are just flaws that she has, but people hate her for those flaws. Whereas Donna has flaws that I think people connect with and, like, don't hate her for. It's easy to hate a character who's petty or jealous, but it's a lot less easy to hate a character whose main flaw is that she just has very low self-esteem.
So what happens in her first episode? This is the one with I'm about to say the fat people, but I don't mean fat people. I mean little tubby little guys that are made of lipid tissue and have little smiley faces on them.
The adipose, the literal babies made of fat, yes.
Of course, yes. So people are on fad diet pills that cause unprecedented weight loss, and the fact that you hear a chunk of your body slip off and run away with the little pitter patter of their feet during the night is nothing to worry about. And turns out, a alien race called
The adipose.
the adipose. It's hard because adipose is also the medical name for the type of lipid tissue they're made of.
Yes.
But like a group of aliens.
We
called the
have to
adipose.
chop that kind of thing up to translation.
That's right. The translation from British to English.
No, like alien to English.
Oh, okay.
Like obviously, like their word for what they are would line up for our word for what they are. They're just little babies.
They're just little babies.
And the Doctor and
this episode
Donna
is fun.
are investigating adipose industries separately. They haven't met each other yet, but they keep kind of having these comedy beats where they almost run into each other, but they don't. And it's really delightful. Oh, the scene where they're looking through, the Doctor's looking through the window, she's looking through the door, and they're like mouthing to each other.
I love that.
And
then
then
it almost gets that journalist killed. If I had a dime for every time a piece of my body sloughed off and ran out of the room.
you'd be a twink.
Oh! So, I would put this episode at I think it's a respectable C.
You know what? I think I want to put this in B.
I think, okay, I'm with you. It can be B tier. It's good enough.
Because I think in terms of like, I think it succeeds by reintroducing us to a companion rather than introducing us to a brand new one. And also the plot, like the story itself, is unique enough that it's like, oh, okay, this is actually kind of a weird off-kilter concept that I think is very interesting.
And you know what I have to add? I think it is a little bit better than Slovene.
I couldn't see that coming. I'm gonna put it above the. Actually, wow. In my estimation, I'm putting it like mid B, maybe higher. Is this like top of B?
No.
Even the Shakespeare Code. Okay,
No, it's not above the Shakespeare Code. Get off your high horse.
You think it's
Fix
not
yourself.
above the Shakespeare Code?
It's not above the Shakespeare Code. Eyes front, Todor. Get your head in the game.
They yell out the word Expelliarmus in the Shakespeare Code. Nobody mentions Harry Potter in Partners in Crime.
I don't know whether that's a plus or a minus.
Oh, also, did you know that the writer of the Shakespeare Code, Gareth Roberts, is a huge transphobe? So that's nice.
Oh, good.
No, but I'm saying that because like J.K. Rowling gets specific mention in that episode, and I don't think it's on purpose. I think it was just like a very funny.
It's the Illuminati. It's
the Illuminati.
Transphobes.
It's the
They all
Brit
know each other.
Illuminati. Yeah, the Brit
The
Illuminati.
Brit Illuminati.
Oh, okay. The Fires of Pompeii.
I personally goat
I gotta goat it.
episode.
I gotta goat it.
Goat the episode. Goat
It's
it.
so the emotions, the costume design,
The costumes. Guys, ancient Greece. Ancient Rome.
Mama.
Ancient Rome. It's ancient
Mama,
Rome.
can
I'm
you
sorry.
even? Mama, can you even? And also the costumes are really good. They're not like overdone. They're
Yeah.
go on.
The episode is a brilliant. It has two brilliant elements, right? Introducing you to the human aspect of inhabitants of Pompeii that don't know what's coming. This is done really effectively. And then it turns into this like amazing this amazing grind of the Doctor realizing that the reason that he is here is because he has to cause the eruption of Pompeii and destroy it because
To save the
complicated
world.
reasons. Yeah, like not doing it will make lava beings take over the earth. It's elegant when you watch it, but I can't explain it in that way.
Yeah.
And
And
goated.
also it's a really, really fantastic showing for Donna. Because you see the contrast between her and the Doctor. I think this is something they tried in the Unquiet Dead to show the morality difference between the Doctor and Rose. But in the Fires of Pompeii, the morality is so much bigger than that. So you get these like huge moments of the Doctor and Donna, or Donna being like, you know, her morality is very human. She's not a functionally immortal person. She can't just like leave when everything's going wrong for these people. Like she desperately wants to save people. And like I don't know, their interaction in the climax of the episode when he's like, "Okay, we got to go." And she's like, "No, we're not leaving." And she's getting like, "Oh, I get shivers just thinking about Catherine Tate's performance in this episode."
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's goated. Above Gridlock?
Literally the hardest call in my life.
Okay, we're just gonna okay, we're not gonna worry about order.
Yeah.
The Planet of the Ood. Our
Planet of
Ood
the Ood.
return.
The return to the Ood fucking rules. I don't think it's goated. I think it's A.
I think it's A for sure. I think it's a great return to the Ood, and I think Series 4 does a good job of taking elements from the first 3 seasons or first 2 seasons that didn't really work and turning them around and making them even better. We'll get to Harriet Jones later. But like the Ood were in the Impossible Planet 2-parter, and they were basically a slave race, I guess you could call them, because that's what they're called in the show.
Yep.
And the idea is, they were just, they're just bred to be slaves. That's all they are. Blah blah blah. And then you get to the Planet of the Ood. Obviously, everything gets turned on its head, and we get an episode of Doctor Who that says slavery bad, and it's just really moving. I know I'm being flippant about it, but it is genuinely a really moving episode. It still makes me cry every time Donna can hear the song of the Ood, and then she's like, "Oh, take this away. This is too much for me."
Yeah.
Again, it's sort of like the Gridlock thing. Donna has a moment of like, "I want to go home," and then she sees how beautiful traveling with the Doctor can be when they free the slaves.
What's up next?
The Centauran 2-parter.
What are the Centaurans again?
They are the species of cloned warriors. So Klingons, but with a reason to be stupid.
Now, why don't I remember this?
I don't know. It's a really, really strong 2-part. It's the return of Martha Jones.
Yeah, she comes back.
And the Centaurans are using the cars, the Atmos system in people's cars to release gas. The
whole world is being choked by the smog, basically. They make every car release poison gas. They kill all the journalists.
Yeah, which will basically terraform the Earth to be a new breeding site for the Centaurans.
Right. I don't remember the Centaurans of a villain because I just remember this as the smog episode. Again, hypoxia moment. The whole Earth would be fucked if this happened.
Yes. India alone would be oof.
Yeah. The thing that I like about this is like the little school of like genius kids who are kind of like, and we're gonna go away with the Centaurans because we're the best people. And then there's a really great moment where all the other geniuses find out that this is what head genius wanted to do, and they're like,
"Wait,
no, dude, that's clearly awful."
Yeah, it's so good. Because like our main character, whose name I can't, our main villain, whose name I can't remember, his name is I'm just gonna call him Elon Musk.
Yep.
He has this
There's a musky vibe.
He has this school for gifted people, and at the end when he reveals his plan, and he's like, and then literally every other person is like, "That's the most fucked up thing I've ever heard in my life. We're leaving."
Great. Yeah, he kind of has. First of all, this guy has like a Martin Shkreli vibe, and he thinks
Martin Shkreli. That's what it is.
And he thinks these people are on his team, and then like a couple of the girls like stand in front of everyone, and they're like, "What are you gonna do? Shoot us?"
And then they just walk out because they know he's a big pussy.
They just leave because they know he doesn't have it in him to pull the trigger, and it's so good.
I'm getting chills when you describe it because that scene is so perfectly rendered.
That is a really, really good scene. I think, though, and I struggle with 2-parters because I don't always... It takes more for me to like Doctor Who's longer stories, and I'm feeling B tier for this.
I think I would agree. I don't think it rises to the heights of A tier, but I don't think this is a bad episode at all.
I think it's better than Slitheen.
The Doctor's Daughter by Stephen Greenwood.
Okay, so Greenhorn is back
and
better than ever.
Yeah.
Greenhorn's back and better than ever. The bar was low. However, this episode is like a killer concept, and I really love it. I also saw it growing up. Martha goes to a planet where like two species founded a planet, had a disagreement about it, fought until they were all dead, and then cloning machines made successive generations who also fought to the death. And
Yeah.
none of them know that it's only been like
7 days.
a week.
Yeah.
So like
Except
15 generations of clones have fought and died over this dispute, and they're like, it's only been a week. We hadn't even set up the colony yet.
and what I love about this episode is that it shows off something that I love in the RTD era, where he uses normal, everyday, sort of domestic, ordinary skills that people have to solve mysteries that are alien and weird.
Oh yeah, Donna cracks it.
Donna
because
cracks
she,
the code because she worked at it as a temp, which I just think
really
is
good.
brilliant. Like, RTD,
Yeah.
say what you will about him, he is really, really good at writing, making the everyday and domestic heroic.
Yeah. Although I mean,
very-
it was Greenhorn who wrote this.
But I know, but he, he was the showrunner.
Yeah.
It's not like
I'm-
Greenhorn thought of I don't know.
Yeah. I'm tempted to goat this.
I'm not gonna goat this. I don't think it's goat worthy. Like, if we're looking
It's
at the
gotta be
other,
A tier.
if we're looking at the other stories in goat or A tier, I do think this is high B.
It's A tier.
I think it's A.
I'm really fond of this episode.
Yeah, I do love this episode, but I don't know that I can put it like, I'll put it above the end. Yeah, I'll put it above the end of the world.
I think it is a cut. It's like a cut above, but
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Also, the I never would moment is really, really good. The villain also, yeah, it is. Oh, and Martha's traveling with the half. Oh, I'm gonna put it mid A. I'm gonna put it mid A. It's fine. It's fine.
titular doctor's daughter
I know.
is so much fun.
Oh yeah, Jenny is so fun, and the way that Donna bonds with her is so fun to watch.
What we got next?
The Unicorn and the Wasp, the Agatha Christie episode.
Is it a twofer? No, it's not.
No, it's a one-parter. I think it's going to be B tier, but that means
Yeah.
nothing because I love this episode and it's so fun to watch.
I do. No, I agree that it's B. The fact that it's Agatha Christie is so sweet. She's portrayed in such a lovely way. They picked such a good actress.
The actor is so... I feel like the actor must be a fan of Agatha Christie or something because the portrayal is so loving.
But all you need to know is that it's tries to be an Agatha Christie style mystery.
Parlor
They don't quite have the
mystery.
chops, so there is a giant wasp. Someone is a werewasp. They're murdering for mommy.
Again,
Don't
an
understand
episode
themselves.
that did not need an alien, but I'm not knocking points off for having an alien.
Yeah, I think B tier's correct.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm gonna
pop
put
her
it-
in there.
I'm going to put her at the top of B. Whatever.
Let's give it that B juice. No pun
'Cause-
intended.
Biz, baby. You're gonna want to goat the next one. It's the library two-parter.
I fucking love the infinite library. Trying to move quickly. This is like a killer episode with a beautiful set, really well done horror, and again, I tend to be drawn to episodes with like a big benevolent force that is lost somehow that they need to like correct.
So what
There's
you're
lots
saying?
of like mind palace stuff.
So what you're saying is that this two-parter is exactly as good as Fear Her.
Okay, listen. No. Because a lot of things about it are more interesting, better, more scary, better set pieces.
No, they're the same quality.
Witty repartee. A sentient library on the moon.
A stellar part 2. I think part 2 blows part 1 out of the water, and they're both amazing.
Oh, and for once, the entire cast of people that you run into are killed, but like the blow is softened, which I think the show should do sometimes.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
okay to have
so-
brutal, oh, everyone's dying, but it's also important to, like, give us something to be happy about at the end of some episodes.
Yep.
I am not against tragedy as a concept, but,
I'm against tragedy as a concept. Make me happy, my life is tragic.
that sucks. Shut up.
And I mean that.
Also, all the Donna stuff in part two, the when she's saved to the mainframe, and she's sort
Really,
of living
really
this
mindfucky.
when she's matrixed. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think part two is goated. I think part one is top of A tier.
You know what? I'm willing.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I'm willing.
I just think it's like, oh god, like you've said most of it. I also just think this is a really great moment for the Doctor when he's interacting with River Song.
Perfect. I'm ready to on some episodes. What's next?
Midnight.
So I don't think I'm as crazy about this episode as you are, but it is really good.
Yeah, you really you have a weird, not weird. I don't know, you have a different like aesthetic sensibility or something. I don't know how to describe it. Like I think Midnight is my own. I have one single problem with Midnight and it doesn't even ruin the experience for me.
Yeah.
My only problem with Midnight is I think the soundtrack is a little too much in places. I think the episode could have done without a lot of the soundtrack, like maybe just like let us live in silent fear for a little while. But other than that, I think it really is what I love about Doctor Who sometimes, which is like unknowable terror. Like I like
Yeah.
cosmic terror. I like things that don't get explained. I like, and not only things that don't get explained, but things that are not explained and also have really cool, interesting mechanics. So I think the creature in Midnight has a mechanic that I really, really love, and I love watching it happen, like acted out every single time.
Well, I was gonna fight for this to be B tier.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think B tier is good, right?
How come?
How come not higher or how come not lower?
How come not higher?
Just the memory of my own enjoyment of it. I think it is B because it is good. It does not have enough to stand out like what we have in A tier.
See, I don't know. I strongly disagree with that.
Well, throw it in A tier.
Because, like, this is sort of what I was talking about when we were talking about the episode 42, how it, like, immediately gets into the action, whereas Midnight spends the first, like, 10 or 15 minutes, like, kind of just building us a relationship with the other secondary characters. Also, I think it's a really good Dawn Companion Light episode that really explores...
I love that she gets a break.
Yes, she gets to just go to a spa while the Doctor has a fucking breakdown. It's so difficult because I also don't want to like discredit your experience. I think this is the one where we split off the most, surprisingly. And it's not even like you think it's bad and I think it's good. It's just
No, I think it's good and you think it's like great.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I think for you. Wait, no, I don't want to do this for you. I want.
I said I will cede this. I don't know what your mental battle is.
Okay,
Put it in A tier. Put
okay,
it in A tier, King.
okay. I just think it's amazing. That's all I'm saying. I just think it's like almost a perfect episode if it wasn't for the soundtrack constantly being present. Other than that, I think it's a really scary, affecting, interesting, well-acted episode.
All right, what's next?
Turn left. So this is the Doctor Light episode of Donna in the parallel universe where the Doctor dies.
Is this a two-parter?
It's the beginning. Technically, you could say it's the beginning of a three-parter finale, but I think it's a. Yeah, I think it's a.
Oh, because these next three episodes are like banger, banger, banger.
Basically.
I think I really like the second part of this. It's the one where they really explore, like, hello, this is the present day where none of any of the RTD era's adventures happened.
That's the episode that we're talking about right now.
Oh, okay. I'm tempted to goat it.
I think I might goat this as well. I think Donna has such a phenomenal showing in this episode. The emotions are really there. And also just kind of the political commentary, I think, is very strong in this episode and doesn't overstate itself. Also, Donna's family is amazing in it. Yeah, it's just such a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
Donna has to kill herself. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
I think I might goat this. You're right.
Yeah, I think it's goatable. What happens in the second part of the two-parter?
The second part is Donna is returned to our universe, and they realize that the Earth is missing.
Oh yeah, this is the like everybody comes together and hoorahs and saves everything.
Well,
moment, right?
that's the next episode. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
this is kind of the
episode,
two-parter that is that.
yes, the Stolen Earth and Journey's End.
Are these maybe like grouped together in A tier?
I think I would put them in A tier. I know a lot of people don't love Journey's End, but
I thought it was really sweet.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I can't like, as much as you could be like, oh, all the characters get together, but then they don't do much except stand around and talk, this and that. I'm like, okay, well, the first part was like the action pack. People think that action equals like interesting, and if you look at the Lazarus Experiment, that just doesn't pan out.
Correct. Yeah, it's the perfect example of they spend the whole time running away from a monster like Scooby-Doo, and it's just not good.
Yeah, so I like that the second part of this. I like that the finale of the season is a little bit quieter until we get to like the bang, bang, bang of the like climax. And I can't deny how I smile every single time. Like, I know that people complain about, oh, they're flying the Earth back to the solar system. That's dumb. Hypoxia.
But it is a nice moment where all the characters we've ever liked get together and crack the problem.
Yeah, and I can't deny how it makes me feel to watch that scene every single time. Like, I cry every single time because the music, like Murray Gold's soundtrack, is fucking slamming into your brain. It's like everyone's laughing and smiling. The Doctor is no longer lonely. Like, it's such a great culmination of everything because a lot of the Doctor's storyline was like, oh, I'm the last of my kind. And you have that moment after they get everything home, and Sarah Jane's like, how can you be lonely? You have the biggest family of anybody on the planet. And it's like, I don't know. It's just amazing. Donna's exit is really... I don't want to say beautiful because it's really tragic and heart-wrenching, but I think it's played. Yeah. I think it's played really well, and I think...
Yeah, we have disagreements about it, but I don't think it un-A tiers it.
No, and I like the scene after the Doctor returns Donna home and assures Wilf that, like, no, even though she can't remember anything that she's done, like, she has had an enormous impact all over the place, and you kind of go back through the season and you're like, oh my god, Donna, like, really left her mark on a lot of people's lives. A lot of secondary characters that survived. Yeah, no, I think it's a A-tier finale, honestly. People might complain about part 2, but, like, whatever, dude. Eat my ass. And that's my intellectual media criticism.
That's the level at which we're operating tonight. Throw those MFs in A tier.
Alright, we've got 3 more stories to go. Or 4 more stories to go. You ready?
Let's do this.
The Next Doctor. I think this is C tier.
I do think I have a soft spot for this episode, but C is correct. It's in that realm.
I really don't dislike it. I just... it's kind of skippable for me. I think Jackson Lake is a great character. Shame about his son.
Oh, no.
I think it's, it's better than, like, Fear Her, but, like, I also think Fear Her is way overhated. Like, C tier is not bad. It's not, like, C tier are still episodes that I would like to rewatch.
Yeah, for the 6th time.
Yeah. I probably will at some point. Let's be honest.
Me with Trek, right?
Honestly. Planet of the Dead.
Why does this evoke a positive response in me?
So the Doctor is on a double-decker bus when that double-decker bus accidentally passes through a vortex and lands on a desert planet.
Filled with those horrible skeevery things that just, like, eat all moisture and matter on entire planets.
This giant metallic manta ray beasts. And you've also got Lady Christina D'Souza, who is teased as a potential companion, but then the Doctor's like, nah, we would be very toxic for each other.
Yeah.
Um,
I think this is a B for me. I remember just having a nice time with this episode, being gratified that there were any survivors at all.
yes. Also, good character work.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta say, I need to mention this. This is also another really hated episode.
Yeah.
People find Christina annoying, but I don't really. They find Malcolm annoying, the scientist who kind of fanboys with the doctor. I can get that one.
Oh.
But I also don't. Like, I can understand why people would find that annoying, but I think he's sweet.
He didn't get enough airtime to be bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think this is a really overhated episode, and I think I would put it at the maybe near the bottom of B. Not worse than the Slitheen, though.
Not worse than Slitheen. We must honor our agreement.
Yeah.
Slitheen is
Our-
bottom of B.
Our covenant, if you.
That's right. The contract is sealed.
The Waters of Mars. I gotta go with this one.
I really like the Waters of Mars.
It is so emotionally potent. I think Adelaide Brooks is an incredible character. The way that she like almost immediately starts just like ripping into the doctor, and you just see this like, I don't know, there's something about her performance and writing that is so powerful to me. Like her portrayal she has so much weight behind her. She's such a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And also we get the Time Lord Victorious moment, which there is a subset of the fandom who think this is like out of character for the 10th Doctor. I would call
He crosses a moral event horizon that he was like fighting the temptation of his entire run on the show. So
yeah,
saws to those people.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's a monkey's paw thing where the Doctor finally achieves what he's kind of wanted to do the whole time, and immediately it backfires on him.
Yeah, without a Donna Noble to smooth you out.
Yeah, and the monster is really, really cool. I do love them. Yeah, no, I think it's goated. I can't put it anywhere other than goated. Like it really is. I do put it on the same level as the idiot, not the Idiot's Lantern, the Impossible Planet. In terms of like, a cast of characters that we love, and we're watching them all kind of systematically be killed, but it's in the context of a very emotional and powerful storytelling.
Yep. So now we have is this a 2-part special?
Yep. And it's the one that I hate to leave on this note because
it's a little dumb. It's a little stupid.
It's kind of stupid.
I think dumb.
I want to split these 2 episodes into their own tiers.
They deserve to be split because one is a regeneration episode and we get a really good speech and it's really touching. But the first one, can I just say, it's Morbius. Yeah, the Doctor really said it's Morbin time. John Sims being very punchable, coming back from the dead because of a backup plan he had. He's really hard to kill. He becomes like an escaped SCP experiment kind of thing.
Yeah,
and he just eats a bunch of innocent hot dog stand owners because he's got to eat people now, and he shoots lightning, and he's a Super Saiyan. Turns the entire world into clones of himself. This is what I was talking about earlier.
In the season, in the finale of part 1, yeah.
The whole it's like it is a gag, and it could be funny, but mostly it's very annoying.
It is annoying because this version of the Master is a little too Morbius. You know, he's
morbed.
He's a little too morbed. So when you get like 7 billion of him in one episode, it's like, oh god, okay.
Yeah, this is just the 2-parter where the whole entire planet just morbs out.
I will say,
just stand there laughing at themselves, and you're like, oh.
The rough thing about this 2-parter in this story is that everything that isn't the Master is great. I like all of the Doctor and Wilf stuff. I think Wilf is an incredible character. Donna's dad.
Yeah. It's just amazing to say everything that isn't the Master is great when the entire Earth has been transformed into the Master.
Yeah, I know.
Almost nothing is great.
I think. Oh, and like the time, and also the pacing is so weird. Because
Bizarre.
I don't know why they didn't introduce the Time Lords. I don't know why they introduced the Time Lords at the end of part one instead of having them come back at the end of part one and having the part two be about that. Because like that's the more interesting story in my opinion. But I guess we'll get there. So part one, I'm going to put in like. I don't want to put it in D tier. I don't
I
think it's.
sort of want to put it in D tier. I feel comfortable. I feel cruising.
You want to put it in D tier?
I
I'm gonna
think
put.
it's bold and brash and like fierce and Mama Slay to put the first half of a two-parter in D tier when the second part will be much higher.
Okay. Actually, that is kind of pussy slay stunt mama queen fierce diva.
Yeah, it's a little bit boots the house down for your nerves.
Sorry, I forgot to add in Hunty, but it's also
Yeah.
Hunty.
It's a little bit like Hunty Mama Live Laugh Love.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll put it in D tier, top of D tier, because I don't think it's as bad as oh my,
It
I
is
keep.
not.
Yeah. The finale of the entire RTD era, we finally made it. I like the Time Lord stuff. I wish there was more of them, if I may script doctor for a moment. I would have introduced them. I would have had them come back as the cliffhanger of episode one, like have them actually return and actually
RTD needed to work a bit of his RTD magic on it and like sow their seeds more.
I like all the emotional stuff. I think the conversation between Wilf and the Doctor of Wilf being like, "Whoa, but the Time Lords are your people. Don't you miss them?" And the Doctor's like, "I'm mostly sad that I had to genocide people. Like, my people are not good. The Time Lords are not a good people. I'm sad because my friends also died, but like, I don't want Rassilon back. Jesus." And you see this sort of like weird not weird, but like really good conflict with the Doctor. Where like, I'm sure he was partly excited to see his people back, but then at the same time, the Time Lords are not a good people.
Yeah. It was so cool to see them. It
yes.
really made us not have to look at the Master for a few minutes, which I really appreciate.
Of course. And you know what? The Master gets a mini redemption where he basically saves the world by blasting the Time Lords with his electrical powers. Don't ask.
Yeah, and technically his moral event horizon, he's really only ever killed one American president and several hot dog stand operators.
Well, he didn't kill the hot dog stand operators. He killed two construction work. Oh wait, he did kill the hot dog
stand operator.
You're right. He did a silly Morbin time jump at her.
Yeah, he Morbius directly into that hot dog truck.
But part two is good. I think people overhate part two. But I do think it's structurally kind of a mess. I'm sad that the Time Lords don't really do anything. They just show up to be a threat and then are immediately dispatched.
I mean, if I had a dime for every time that happened in Doctor Who.
I guess that's fair. You'd probably have a few dimes. Like, not so many that you would be able to buy something, but you would have a couple.
I would have like 40 cents.
40 cents, yeah. And then we have to talk, like, we can't cut away. Like, if people thought that, like, the Time Lord victorious moment from the Waters of Mars was out of character, I think the Doctor's reaction to regeneration solidifies it as being in character.
Yeah, learning that he has to die to save some random schmuck, and he has a whole soliloquy that's like, this is a random schmuck. I'm so pissed that I have to die.
Yeah, I really like David Tennant's Doctor. I hate the idea that, like, characters have to be good people to be good characters, because I don't think that the Doctor is a bad person, but this incarnation of the Doctor, he's vain. He's kind of cavalier. He certainly thinks highly of his own intelligence, which is kind of a thing with all Doctors. But this Doctor, especially with his vanity on top of that, kind of has an issue. So seeing his sort of like soliloquy and tantrum at the end is really good. It's just good TV.
Yeah, I mean, like, it made me wince, but I was like, yeah, this is who you are.
Yeah, and then but he works himself through it too. Like he does do the right thing in the end, and I think that's what makes him such a strong, powerful character. Is that like he is kind of a shitbag, but he's also a shitbag who does the right thing. And also, yeah, I love the montage of him going back and saying goodbye to everybody. Sort of a victory lap for the era. I hate that Mickey and Martha are, you know, I'm sure they're divorced by now. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that Mickey came back from the parallel universe. We're not going to talk about it. I do like this finale. I think it's strong. I don't think it's like A tier. I think it's like...
Yeah, I was going to say B is the place.
I think B is the place. I don't know, it's just such a lovely cap to the era.
A capstone.
Well, I think Journey's End is the best cap to the era. I think this one is just a good cap for RTD and David Tennant to say goodbye. And I like the fact that the Doctor doesn't fully make peace with regeneration before dying. I think that's a really bold choice.
It is good. Just him being like, I don't want to go.
Bam.
Bam, dies.
Because RTD just knows how to write character exits. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm going to put this in B tier. I don't really know where. Definitely above the Slitheen two-parter.
Better than Slitheen.
It's definitely better than Slitheen. I don't know if anybody saw that one coming.
Slitheen really is the gateway to like a bit seriously flawed.
You really hate that two-parter.
Yeah, I think seeing how much stuff is above it, I'm like, yeah, we wound up in the right place.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I'm so happy you got to do this. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the show and I get to share something that I love with you. And it's nice to see the two perspectives of somebody who's like a longtime fan, has watched this show like 15 times, and just like your fresh take on it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that I love that you love all the companions.
There's no dislikable companion in the RTD era. They're all successful.
And anybody who hates Rose can eat my whole ass. Like
anyone who hates Martha can
is probably a racist.
We've had this discussion before. Is like there's hate out there for Martha, but we can't think of a reason aside from prejudice for it to actually hold water.
Yeah, there's no complaint about Martha that isn't racism. And Donna is the platonic ideal of a Doctor Who companion.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see if any like fans of the show see this tier list and like get mad at us.
And they're like, "You're shit. How the did you make that choice?
You should Roblox yourself on live television." And it's like, I've been trying. CBC Gem will not accept my application.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
I'm
have a good night
and get some food.
I'm breaking up with you.
Okay,
guys, it's just you and me now. Did we have fun? I had fun. I was really, like I was saying before, I was really excited to see the perspective of somebody who is watching this show for the first time compared to me who's seen it 5 times, and I have very nuanced and complicated takes. We will be watching through the Moffat era at our own time, and once we get through, I think like the RTD era is 4 seasons, so it was a little more manageable, whereas the Moffat era is 6 seasons plus specials. So I think I'm going to split up those by Doctor rather than showrunner. So we'll do a 11th Doctor review and then a 12th Doctor review. Split them up that way. Hey guys, third time's a charm. Your editor Todor O here. Just wanted to mention a couple things that we kind of forgot to talk about during the initial stream that we wanted to. One, I called Wilf Donna's father. He's her grandfather, so I apologize for that. And secondly, we wanted to talk about Harriet Jones for a second, because I know you had a bone to pick with her portrayal in the Christmas Invasion, particularly how she leaves the show and the 10th Doctor's actions towards her, and we forgot to bring this up during our Journey's End Stolen Earth conversation about her return and sort of not redemption arc, but more just the writers admitting that she was right.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a redemption arc.
Because she didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, she just gets to look directly at the camera and say, I would have done it again. I think it doesn't, like, undo how like, openly sexist the Doctor appears in his initial handling of her.
Yeah.
I also wish they didn't kill her, personally. I think, like, making it like, ooh, she gets her redemption and dies heroically. Isn't that great? Is like... Well,
sacrificial death isn't always welcome.
Yeah, and I don't know what year this was, like 2007 or 8 at this point. 2008. So maybe it wasn't played out at that point, but it certainly is now. However, yeah it's worth mentioning that they completely not retconned, but were just like, yeah, that was a poor handling. Here she is again.
To be based. Yeah, Harriet Jones is based. And I think I was mentioning earlier in the stream too about how Series 4 does a good job of taking weird or off moments from the first 3 seasons and just making them a lot better. So Harriet Jones is one big one. Donna is another one. The fact that people were just not happy with her initial appearance on the show, and then she returns and is kind of the most based companion you could ask for. So yeah, I mean, just Series 4 is just banger after banger of good choices, and I like that. So going forward, the last thing I wanted to talk about that I forgot to ask during the stream is your final impressions of the RTD era. What are your final thoughts on it? And what are you looking forward to going into the 11th Doctor / Stephen Moffat era?
So, I guess my final thoughts on the RTD era, it's kind of hard to summarize. I mean, it's easy to see why it inspired, like, a lot of the fan community was really focused on this era. It's easy to see why there's high hopes going into the next era, because a lot of the individual Moffat episodes have been really, really, really good. I know that it doesn't necessarily stay smooth, so I kind of hope that we don't lean too hard on Daleks and Cybermen. I hope that we get new companions with cool dynamics. And what do I want to do? Oh, I want to see Time Lords develop. Right. I kind of want that civilization to get explored. So I hope we see that. That's my number 1.
Okay. Awesome. Get out of my chair so I can say goodbye. All right. So that was the stream. I don't think we ended the actual stream like in a smooth place, so I'm just going to do it here. Thank you guys for watching. That was so much fun. And eventually we will do the Matt Smith era. Okay. Goodbye.